I can. Ace, so good morning, thank you. I thought this was timely. I'm in the process of I do a lot of this type of thing, and I'm in the process of doing it for somebody at the moment. For those of you who didn't hear or haven't known, a long-term client of mine dropped dead unexpectedly a couple of weeks ago, and they had a fairly substantial business, which I am helping his wife sell. I'm actually seeing, hopefully, the buyer to conclude this transaction this afternoon. So I thought this was a timely reminder or timely introduction for people of what it means to sell your business. Now, I do this talk for a variety of different people at different times, and I can do it in anything from 10 minutes, but I can also do it for up to a full day. So the slides are actually for the full day, so I'm going to be racing through these, but I will happily share them with people after the process of it. I'm going to jump to this one. So what we're going to cover in the next 10 minutes is how to set yourself up for exiting, what buyers look for when they're buying things, how to make your business valuable, the market price of your business, how to structure a deal, how long you should expect for the whole thing, and why a specialist is useful for you. I keep using this slide, so I'm going to use it again. Events of the last few weeks, years, etc. I first brought this slide out in 2016. I'm still using it in 2023. The world doesn't seem to have calmed down whatsoever. The events that are ongoing at the moment in an economy has a massive impact on being able to sell anybody's business and the valuation you get for it. There is certainly good times and bad times for selling things. Ironically, just coming out of coronavirus was one of the best times to actually sell things. There's a lot of businesses with a lot of cash knocking around at that point, and lots of people starting up businesses. Funding was still fairly soft at that point and was still fairly flexible. So it was a good point. I would say right now is probably a very bad point. There's a lot of uncertainty as to what is actually happening with people and what's actually going on. And yes, anything is sellable. I have sold a sellotape round, literally a guy who went shop to shop selling sellotape. And I actually managed to get £10,000 for that business by it's fundamentally selling the database rather than the actual underlying business of it. But the people who bought it were a large corporate and certainly weren't going to be going door to door, but they did want his data of who was buying the sellotape because they targeted it in a different way. So anything is sellable, but it very much depends on the price that you get for it. Say not much confidence around at the moment. It does cause various issues. So this is the fundamental question I always get asked: what's the value of my business? Everybody always says this to me: what's the value of my business? The truth of it is, it's what someone else will pay you. The value of your business is what someone else will pay you. There's all sorts of theoretical values, and on my next slide, I'm going to tell you the theoretical value that is usually used by accountants, and is certainly used by HMRC, but it is often no different valuing a business than if you are valuing your house. You look at those that are similar, that have sold previously. What did they sell for? What did people get? And what could I get for it? The market for selling businesses is not as good or as strong or as liquid as selling houses. It is not as easy. It does take a lot longer. And some businesses are not worth what their owners think they are. I believe everything is saleable, but it does depend on the price that you're willing to accept. And some business owners do have a massively inflated value over what it is they have. Other people won't see it that way and will therefore pay you a lot less than you may well think it's worth to you. Other things I always say to people when they are coming and approaching these things is no deal is done until it's done. They are all lying scumbags, and the biggest thing to consider is what's next. I've seen loads of people start wanting to sell their business at 50. They've done 20 years of it, they're sick of it, and they want out of it. But the trouble is, what are they going to do next? And often the answer is not sell their business. Often the answer is restructure it and do it in a different way. Move geographically, move physically, live their life differently, and approach what they're doing in a different way. I myself have a small practice of accountancy, absolute general practice in Carlisle. I'm based in Manchester. The reason I keep it ticking over is one day I am intending on moving to Cumbria. We have a house in Cumbria. We're very fortunate. We have it as a holiday let most of the time. One day I'm going to move there. I'm going to spend most of my time in Cumbria. And I already have the foundations of a small firm of accountants in Cumbria to keep me busy, to provide some income, and to do things differently. That's a much better exit route than trying to actually sell for a majority of people, is restructure how you do it. So what is the typical valuation? Well, the typical valuation of small businesses, there are specific ones for specific industries. Dentistry has a specific valuation. Accountancy has a specific valuation. Doctors' practices have specific valuations. Specific businesses do, but on the whole, the one that is universally accepted and certainly accepted by HMRC is 3 times the accounting profit adjusted for discretionary spending, dividends, depreciation, tax, minus the cost of replacing owners. And that's one of the most important bits in small businesses. So if your business shows that it makes a £50,000 profit, if you add back the stuff you choose to spend, because you're putting your car and your golf club subscriptions through and all those other things, and it's now £60,000 profit, if it costs 70 to replace the work that you do, if you had to go and get an employee, your business has no economic value. That is the bit that is missed by most people, most small business owners, the cost of replacing the owners. Vice versa to that, if you had a £60,000 adjusted profit and you could get somebody to do the job for 50,000, the economic value would probably be about 30 grand. To this, you would add any fixtures and fittings, fixed assets, buildings, physical, tangible stuff you can kick. That tends to be on top of it. We call that net assets. That is the typical valuation of a business. So, how to set yourself up for exit? Make sure your business looks tidy. There is a fabulous book. I'm going to skip through this because I haven't got long. There is a fabulous book called Broken Windows, Broken Business. It is one of the best ways to set yourself up for exiting a business. Make sure you have no broken windows. Make sure you have no graffiti, literally and metaphorically. If there's anything crappy going on in your business, tidy it up, sort it out, get it dealt with. If you don't have good books and records, get them in situ, get them up to speed, get them to be good books and records. If you don't have copies of documentation, get it all in place. Without it, you will not be able to sell quickly. What buyers look for, most buyers are leaving jobs. Very few buyers are already in that industry unless you are a bigger business. If you are in it, if you are looking for an industry buyer, you are probably going to have £1 million plus turnover. If you are less than £1 million plus turnover, it is more like a job. It is more likely that it is somebody wanting to come into it. It is more likely that they have been laid off, early retirement, job dissatisfaction, etc. You are selling a job to somebody else unless you are bigger. And so about £1 million, you tend to find larger businesses who are already in your industry suddenly start considering you to be valuable. Deal structure is the next important one in a minute and a half. I copied that circled thing at the bottom of this slide a few years ago from somebody I don't know. They just put a comment on a post on LinkedIn, and I think it's very, very telling about how most deals are done. Most deals are done on what's called deferred consideration, otherwise known as on the drip. They give you a bit of money up front and they pay the rest of it over a period of time. And there are some absolute sharks out there. I do not know this man, and I'm not disparaging him whatsoever in case anybody on this call does, but read what he actually says. For anyone selling their business, I am happy to accept and agree to pay their number so long as I structure the deal. My overriding objective is to get control of businesses with greater potential. Vendor bragging rights in the pub are often worth far more than actually receiving the cash. Reality, however, is rare, hence the huge reality gap between vendors and buyers. What he's saying is most sellers overvalue their business, and he will say yes, provided he gets to structure how he pays you. In other words, you are never getting paid. Which is why I say in my last 12 seconds, you should always use a specialist rather than your local accountant. Somebody who's been down this road with many other businesses before, who regularly helps people buy and sell companies and knows some of the pitfalls and some of the things that can go wrong. Always make sure you have lawyers. This is your life's work you are selling. And that's me.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Rob. Anybody got a quick question for Rob? Just moving all back over here so I can see everybody.
Jonathan was first.
Sorry, John.
Brilliant. Thanks, Rob. How many businesses, what's the value of businesses bought and sold in this country every year, do you think? Is it still a massive business?
Yes, it is. BDO, a large firm of accountants, correlate most of these numbers. Forgetting the multinationals, forgetting your international conglomerates, BDO reckon transaction values of under 10 million, which is what they consider to be small businesses, are 34 billion a year.
Wow.
So that takes out all your mega multinational, multi-billions pound stuff.
Flipping heck. That's huge, isn't it? That's massive.
Yeah. I mean, we are a little firm of accountants. We are nobodies, and we do about 100 a year. And I would say the average value of that is probably £500,000 on average. So, you know, we're probably talking 50 million on our own in transaction values.
Crazy. Wow. You've stunned everybody into silence there, Rob. Like, oh. Brilliant. Was there anybody else that needs to ask a question?
I was going to quickly say, when it comes to selling a business, how do you charge?
How do we charge? This on transaction value. So we charge 2.5% of the transaction value. If you don't want us to market, you're just asking us to do the actual sales process. If you want us to market it and find the buyer for you, we charge 5% of the transaction value. There is always a minimum charge of £2,500, and it is on a success basis. If we don't sell it, we don't get paid.